be just as numerous and demanding as in larger localities. Take the bridges that cross the Pamunkey and Mattaponi rivers, the only roads in and out of West Point. The manager has to worry about their safety due to the constant wear and tear caused by tree-laden trucks bound for the town's main employer, a paper mill.
I guess once we build those T hangars in our capital plan, I guess.
For Lance Metzler, who runs West Point Small Airport on top of his other duties for the residents of this picturesque community, being manager means he's on call 24 hours a day.
My wife, sometimes she asks me, she said, why did you get in this profession?
But for Metzler, the answer is simple. He never knows what will happen next.
You know, one day you could be dealing with a person that basically lives on the streets, and the next day you could be dealing with someone who owns half the town. And you've got to be able to manage and make sure that you treat each person equally.
We try our best to be sensitive to the almost every whim and need of the citizens, and we couldn't do it without Lance being the buffer. The day-to-day shock absorber is our town manager. We depend on him a lot.
Loudoun County boasts some of the state's most beautiful rural vistas. Wineries, horse farms, and peaceful settings. But that's western Loudoun. Go toward Washington, D.C., and you find eastern Loudoun, the growth capital of the Old Dominion.
We're sitting in the fastest growing county in Virginia, and if you take Virginia in terms of the whole United States, it's the second fastest growing county of its size in the country.
We're at about 26,000 students right now, and we predict that within 5 years we'll be at about 42,000 students. And just 7 years ago we were at about 14,000 students. So we've almost doubled in size in the last 7 years, and we'll about double again in the next 5 or 6 years.
Major corporations like America Online and MCI WorldCom love Loudoun's location, land availability, and lifestyle. It's the county administrator's job to make sure the locality can support the rapid growth that progress brings.
Families are saying now that, you know, this is a great community to live in, and we understand it's a high growth rate, but we want it to be managed. We want us to care for the things that we all treasure and value, and the government plays a major role in that, obviously.
Okay, another busy week.
With such major responsibilities facing this administrator, it's no wonder that much of his time is spent in planning meetings.
The final decision lies with VDOT, so why do the study and get data that VDOT doesn't want or won't accept?
You have to rely on your staff to provide the information that you need to make decisions.
But the buck stops with the administrator, who works with the elected Board of Supervisors to allocate limited resources, a constant tug of war.
When you have $1 left in the budget process, and you have varying interest wanting to have that $1, you may, you know, your choice as a board member, do you spend it on public education, do you spend it on public safety, do you spend it on community services, or do you hand it back to the taxpayers that gave it to you in the first place? What's the right answer?
I'll take a look at this. We have many challenges, and he always is calm, cool, and collected. And that is definitely a plus when you're working with 9 political type animals who are often not calm, cool, and collected.
In Hampton, an historic city of 130,000 on the Virginia Peninsula, City Hall is on a mission to make government more convenient and accessible to citizens. That first required a change in mindset by government itself.
Government traditionally has been organized functionally around the needs of individual departments and what made sense for the department. And in doing that, we've inadvertently created a lot of frustration for our customers.
Of particular frustration was the cumbersome and time-consuming process citizens confronted to secure simple permits for new businesses, to make property improvements, or obtain city licenses.
We said this isn't good enough. This might satisfy people, but it's not going to delight them.
So Hampton centralized permitting in one office and cross-trained employees to handle any request. Delighting consumers now guides all city programs.
As we look at institutions like Disney and others who have the reputation for being customer-oriented organizations as benchmarks for us in the context of trying to deliver the same caliber of service, and we couch ours in the term customer delight.
So we're doing all that we can to help them facilitate their efforts to make that happen.
For City Manager George Wallace, gaining citizen understanding and support is essential, especially when tackling a major initiative like upgrading Hampton's traditional retail corridor.
At the time that this facility was constructed, Hampton was the cutting-edge retail development community in the region.
Population shifts had eroded Hampton's dominance, prompting city government and the business community to look for ways to attract shoppers back to the city. They settled on a proposal to create a unique urban entertainment center on 90 acres of open and previously developed land.
That particular niche does not exist in Hampton Roads, and we wanted to be the first one that's out of the block with that particular niche. We married entertainment pieces and retail together, and that's what we aspire to do there.
But that meant making some controversial decisions, like whether to buy up the homes on this well-established street to make room for the project.
And the City Council was emphatic in terms of to staff and to any developer that this property was not going to be condemned. These people were not going to be forced to move unless and until they decided they wanted to do it of their own volition, and they would name the conditions.
For economic development to work, George Wallace knows the public has to be on board, and the person driving the process must be the city manager.
He has to be the coach, the catalytic agent that brings all these pieces together to put it in a comprehensive package that's saleable to not only to the council, but also saleable to the customer, the citizens that are going to be participants in this particular process.
George Wallace in Hampton, Kirby Bowers in Loudoun County, Lance Metzler in West Point, and Earl Reynolds in Martinsville are just 4 of the more than 200 outstanding town, city, and county managers and administrators in Virginia, all of whom operate under a strict code of ethics. Managers work closely with elected officials to devise and implement policy. Norfolk's Regina Williams, one of a growing number of female managers and administrators, encourages women to enter the profession.
One of the things that a city can do and a city manager can do is to convene people. Women tend to do that without digging their heels into positioning or what have you, but to bring people to the table, to convene them, to solve problems. And that's the most powerful thing that a city manager does.
Regina Williams and her colleagues across Virginia prove day in and day out that professional local government management is working for Virginia.